Welcome to Conservation Nation. I'm your host, Gabriella Hoffman. In this series, we travel the country to highlight conservation in action. In this episode, we're in my home state, California, to learn how clean water gives life to the state's environment and its economy. Despite having abundant resources available, water scarcity persists here and is a major problem. Many attribute these problems to state mismanagement and meddlesome environmental special interest groups. Is this the case? Let's find out. California is home to bountiful amounts of water, naturally occurring and artificially, much like these reservoirs that we're going to be showing you all. Our travels are going to take us to San Joaquin Valley, the Sacramento Delta, and finally San Francisco. Since we're discussing water resources here in California, there's no better way to learn about it than to do some recreational fishing, a favorite pastime of mine. We're at a local spot here in Fresno, California that is adjacent to the San Joaquin River. From the San Joaquin River, water eventually flows into the San Francisco Bay and ultimately the Pacific Ocean. Drought and flooding events in California have recently consumed the news cycle. Governor Newsom insists these conditions are caused by climate change. His Department of Water Resources Director, Carla Nemeth, says pumps, aqueducts, and reservoirs the state relies on are outdated and vulnerable to climate change. Others argue these are long-standing challenges tracing back to California's founding, challenges with available solutions. To better understand the root causes, I spoke with Eric Wilson, a first-generation farmer, and Johnny Amarol, Chief Operating Officer of Friant Water Authority, to learn more.
If you just listen to the rhetoric that's being kind of parroted out there, that we're just in this perpetual hydrologic drought. We are in a perpetual drought because we don't manage water when it comes into the state the way we should. To the casual observer to this situation, you would be made to believe that these shortages are created just by drought or by some other factors, but I'm here to say that hydrology in California really hasn't changed a whole lot in the last 125 years. There's ups and there's downs and there's ups and there's downs, which is why all these projects were built to begin with. Recognizing that hydrology ebbs and flows. There's periods of wet years followed by periods of dry years. So all this elaborate system of dams and canals and pump stations was built deliberately to deal with that. We're standing over the Seaborn Reservoir project that'll be completed in 2026, and it is designed purposefully to take advantage of years of abundance, which happen every 3 or 4 years. We get these massive rain events. And so without projects like this, we're not prepared for it.
I think the government has dropped the ball on California voters. The California voters here have begged and voted and put down with their votes that we want water infrastructure. We passed, I don't know how many bonds. Prop 1 was a huge one. We said, let's build the dams, and we're still waiting.
According to the Bureau of Reclamation, 71.2% of precious water resources have been released into the Pacific Ocean in the name of protecting at-risk fish like delta smelt and salmon. As a result, both water supplies and species abundance have continued to decline at rates that are unacceptable.
We've been farming in this location since 1937, and this was before the water projects were built, and so we were overdrafting the aquifer, and so they built these marvelous water projects that can move a tremendous amount of water all the way from Northern California to Southern California. But more recently, there's more uses of water, there's municipal uses, there's environmental uses, and so because of that, a lot of water gets diverted for the environment. And the sad fact of the matter is that the environment isn't benefiting from it. The smelt and the salmon numbers are still dwindling, even though they're allocating huge amounts of water for their benefit. They're not looking at all the different stressors. They're not trying to solve the problem. They're simply just sending all the water out to the ocean. The Endangered Species Act is a very powerful tool that the environmentalists have. They're really lawyers that sue everybody and prevent any kind of progress, even for the environment. And so it's really a catastrophe because the farms are fallowed and the fish numbers are dwindling. And I think we can do better.
Despite mismanagement fueled by state lawmakers and their radical environmentalist backers, there are several solutions available to promote sustainable water policies.
It's about water, but it's also about much more than water, because the problem is just the whole scarcity mindset that we have in California. The idea that rationing all energy, all of resources, including water, is the only path to sustainability is unrealistic, if not impossible. It's impoverishing some of the people that, the political class in California claim they want to protect the most.
Some argue for reservoirs, more damming. Others say don't pursue that altogether, completely redo water infrastructure in California. So what, in your mind, is the proper solution?
You absolutely need to build more, but it takes so long and it's so costly, even just to study to build it, that it becomes cost prohibitive. And so most farmers are moving down to Mexico, where they don't have all the red tape that we do. We need to unleash the power and harness American ingenuity, because we can solve any of these problems, but we need to make sure that people want them solved.
From the Sacramento Delta to the San Joaquin River Plain, California shouldn't dump the majority of its clean water into the Pacific Ocean way behind me and paralyze the state. Will they finally construct infrastructure that conserves water rather than spilling it into the ocean? Time will tell. We'll continue to monitor the situation here in California.